Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. Today I'm going to be talking to you about winter water sanitation. Now I have been planning and gearing up for my winter camping season, and whether or not it is a survival situation, a camping situation, environmental crisis situation, whether that be weather related or what have you, you need to consider water sanitation. Now I'm very blessed because where I camp there are freshwater springs all over the place, and I feel very confident drinking from those water sources. I've drank from those water sources pretty much my entire life and I've never once gotten sick. However, that might not always be the case. And winter presents us with a lot of challenges. It blesses us with a lot of water options because we still have streams, we still have springs, we get snowfall, we still get rain in the winter, we have ice, and these are all things that are sources of water for us. However, during the warmer months, we always have water filters that we can rely on for uncertain water sources. Well, those might not work real well when the temperatures drop below freezing. Now these are all very common water filtration devices. We have the Frontier Pro, we have the Life Straw, we have the Katahdin. We've got also, I believe this is from Katahdin as well. This is the Be-Free filter, which I actually love these Hydro Pack bladders to use with these. And you can even get little socks for the filters if you have sediment in your water, if it's an emergency situation. We got the Grail, and you have the Berkey water bottle. Now, all of these have pluses and minuses to them. Some of them filter out more impurities than others. Some of them will filter out absolutely anything that's in the water. Chemicals, viruses, bacterias, particles, you name it. Others, well, it may not filter out everything, but it will filter out enough for you to be able to survive a situation and be able to have water to drink during this time. The one thing that all of these have going against them is every single one of these can fail in extreme cold weather because they will freeze. Not only can they fail to be able to filter water, they can also expand due to the ice buildup inside them and break, making the water filter device absolutely worthless. Now, a lot of these devices are world-renowned for their durability, like the Grail. However, there are others, not so much. They're very fragile and delicate. But whether it's something fragile and delicate or something like the Grail, it very easily can be something that can freeze solid and be destroyed if ice were to form and expand the filter. It could completely destroy the filter, and it could also completely destroy the container that it's in. So there are a lot of tips and tricks on how you can avoid having your filters freeze. If you have like a Grail or you have this Katahdin pump, those tips aren't exactly practical, because the most common tip is to put your filter in like a Ziploc bag so it doesn't leak and get your clothing wet, and you simply put it inside your clothing in an inner pocket or something like that just to keep it warm. But the thing is, we're human and we forget stuff. And if this was my sole source of water filtration or water sanitation, and I were to forget and leave this exposed to the elements and it were to expand and break, that's it. if this is the thing I'm relying on. Now, something like the Katahdin Be Free, well, I think this is pretty survivable. It's basically a fiber filter in a loosely fitting plastic cage. But you know what? I'm not going to take the risk of that actually freezing and actually failing. So I have to consider other sanitation methods. Now here are 3 examples of chemical treatment for your water. Now, if you're like me, you want to avoid chemicals at all costs. However, if you drink municipal water, you are drinking a ton of chemicals. It's the only way that they can treat the water and make it fit for human consumption. Chlorine is one of the most common of these chemicals. They use a lot of others. Plus, they also put a whole bunch of other things in there too that you may not want in your body. I'll just leave that at that. Now, this one here is basically chlorine tablets, as is the Oasis. This is very much what I used when I was in the Army, which is iodine tablets. This particular set comes with 2 bottles of 2 different types of tablets, one of which is the iodine. You put a tablet into a liter of water. You can put up to 2 tablets if you really think it's iffy. Let them dissolve completely, shake them up, usually within about 5 to 10 minutes. It's purified and drinkable. However, there is a discoloration to the water and it tastes like iodine. So this company has a second vial that has another tablet that you were to put those in equal proportions. If you use 2 iodine tablets, you would use 2 of the other tablets, and they basically eliminate the color and the taste of iodine. How it does that, I'm not really sure. So you're having one chemical in your body and you're using another chemical to make this more palatable to drink. So you're doubling up on the amount of chemicals you're putting in your water. And if you're in a survival situation, you're not going to care. You're not going to care. But if you're just out camping and you are questionable about your water source, something like these would really come in handy. Now, another water sanitation technique doesn't require any chemicals, doesn't require any filtration. It requires the sun. And even on an incredibly cold winter day, the sun could be out in full force with no cloud cover. You can actually use the ultraviolet rays of the sun to purify your water. Now, a lot of folks I've talked to, they believe that you can use translucent bottles like the Nalgene bottles or any of the other companies that are out there, and it will do just fine. I personally think that a perfectly clear bottle will be better. Now, case in point, if you're a beer drinker and you have drank beer out of a clear or a green bottle, if it's been exposed to just about any kind of light, including incandescent light, it can actually affect the flavor of the beer. It's called skunking. That's the reason the vast majority of breweries will choose to use amber for a higher quality product for its shelf life. This is essentially an amber bottle, even though it's translucent. So if the color of the bottle for beer will affect its flavor because of light, then I personally believe that the color of the translucency of a water bottle could do the same. So there are companies out there, well, you can actually buy crystal clear Nalgene bottles, and they're BPA free, so the sun shouldn't be percolating them enough to where you get all kinds of chemicals in your water. Some water bottles out there that like a buck or $2 you can pick up from the dollar store, I would probably be hesitant to use those for just about anything. But many years ago, I picked up a couple of these. They're made by Nalgene. They are completely transparent. They're collapsible, so you can use this in your camp to put water in, what you gather locally. And if you have a bunch of these, you can collapse these, keep them in your pack, and set them out in the sun. And my rule of thumb is that for a liter of water, put it out in the sun, direct sunlight for 8 hours, you're good to go. And I've used this technique many times, whether or not the water was questionable or not, you know, I went in, didn't take the risk. So as far as I know, it's worked fine for me. It also comes in a 3-liter bottle, and it's transparent. The water is transparent. So I would not think that a 3-liter container would take any longer amount of time exposed to the sun than the 1-liter. I'm not a scientist, I can't prove that. But if I were and I had stuff like in a laboratory or something, I could definitely tell you. But I'm just going to go with the good faith of common sense when it comes to that. Now, the 8-hour thing is really important, because even though you might be able to get by with less time, that 8-hour time frame is really important in the winter, because we don't have a lot of sunlight during the winter. So there's a couple things you could possibly do to amplify that effect in a shorter amount of time. One of which, aluminum foil behind it. Wherever it's going to be in the sun, aluminum foil behind it. That way it's reflecting the ultraviolet light right back through the bottle after it passes through it once. And let's see, I gotta take my shoes off to do the math. No, in my common sense way of thinking, again, I'm not a scientist, that could possibly reduce the time by half. The other thing is snow. Snow is pure white. It reflects light back. So if you were to pile up a little mound of snow behind your water bottle, that's going to also reflect light back. And as long as your water is not freezing while it's sitting out, you know, in the sun, you should be good to go. Now, 1-liter water bottles, soda bottles, whatever. I drink a lot of seltzer water, and this is a seltzer water bottle, 1 liter. And a lot of people, especially ultralight backpackers, they absolutely love these things. They would actually go out and buy particular types of beverages because of the particular type and style of bottle, because of the way it may be contoured. It makes it more rugged but still lightweight. Well, this bottle, yeah, it could be fragile. However, I believe it's Self-Reliance Outfitters. Yeah, they make this little beauty. This is the Pathfinder Grail cup. Now, it's designed to perfectly fit the Grail. So you always have like a cook pot you can have with it, which a brilliant idea. Check this out, baby. But dang, it also would help protect something that's fragile and delicate like this, and still make it a decent size for you to be able to, you know, take with you. So, and another thing is, like when playing around with this stuff, the Hydro Pack bottles, a lot of people like these because they're sort of squishy and they think they're fragile and delicate. Well, when you combine this with the bee-free filter, when it's not, you know, constantly freezing throughout the day, these fit in those beautifully as well. So you could also use your Pathfinder Grail cup to protect these as well. I have had one puncture from these, except it was my 1 gallon bladder. And the reason that happened is because it was laying against a tree at the opening of a cave that I was camping in. I was up above the cave on a hill, throwing big chunks of wood over so I could use that for firewood, and one of the pieces actually punctured it. But other than that, I find these incredibly durable. So before I digress a whole lot further, the sunlight ultraviolet sanitation technique is viable, it's chemical free, and as long as you have sunlight, you have a way to purify your water. Now, the last technique of water purification I'm going to cover is probably the most fundamental and basic that most everyone knows, and that's boiling your water. And for winter months, I always go with a twig stove of some type. I have solo stoves. I have a variety of different modified wood gasification stoves. You know, they're manufactured in China, and you know, I don't know what the names are, the styles or things like that, but all those work real well. They're very fuel efficient, but I love using this firebox stove because I can actually use this as like a little miniature fire pit. And it's very versatile. There's a lot of different things I can do with it. I can grill with it. I can boil water with it. You know, so, and it's also folds down nice and flat, which none of my other twig burning stoves can do. But boiling your water is the most fundamental way to do it. That's one of the reasons why every single one of my water bottles that I take out in winter, I will have a cook pot / nesting cup in the same pouch as the water bottle. So that way, when I'm sanitizing water, I've got a lot of different ways I can do it. Now, this style of bottle, you can't do much with that. You can put boiling water in it, and I don't know if I put boiling water in a plastic water bottle. I might let it cool down a good little bit first. Hot, you know, maybe, but definitely not boiling. I wouldn't do it. I think that would create a lot of material fatigue. However, a stainless steel water bottle, you would definitely be able to boil water in. And this particular style, this is the Guyot Designs Nalgene bottle. Same dimensions as the regular standard Nalgene bottle. Matter of fact, I believe that the lids are even compatible. But this right here, you can definitely boil. And if you use the Pathfinder water bottle clip, which is basically a clip they use in fishing to hold a fish's mouth open, you can get them at a decent fishing supply store. But you know, stick that down in there. You can suspend it over the fire, whatever, but you can boil water in these. Now, it makes no difference whatsoever on how you sanitize your water if you're not capable of drinking the water, aka it freezes. So a few little tricks and tips I'm going to throw out to you on how I combat that. Now, one of which is when I'm out and it's going to be freezing or below the entire time I'm out, I always leave about this much space in the top of my water bottle, so you have a slosh factor. That means that it's not all the way up to the top. And you know, I don't know what the physics behind it would be, but I know that when this splashes around, it creates vibrations all the way through it. So it sort of prevents it from freezing solid just by nature of it being able to slosh. Now, plastic water bottles, they will not freeze water as quickly as stainless steel. However, stainless steel, I can put close to a fire and that radiant heat will warm it up enough to where it unfreezes it. I can't do that with this. My son Ryan put a frozen Nalgene bottle beside a wood fire, a decent distance away. I mean, it was just getting some of that residual heat. Well, it developed this tumor. It actually had a bulge that developed because he wasn't rotating it around like this. And so he's got a pretty unusually shaped water bottle now, and it will not fit in a nesting cup. So with the frozen water thing, you do not want to use a hydration bladder when you're dealing with those extreme cold temperatures. Now, the reason being, this whole hose can freeze very quickly, and it's frozen all the way through. It can actually freeze and break your hardware that is on here. Now, some people will tell you, well, you just tuck your hose back inside and you only pull it out when you need it. Well, you know what? That's sort of a hassle. It's sort of a pain. And the thing is, unless I put this in a place that is warm, like underneath my coat or in my sleeping bag when I'm sleeping, then it can still freeze. The bladder itself isn't going to be an issue because it's made of basically a type of material that, you know, it can stretch a little bit. It could probably survive it being frozen. However, the plastic cap, if this is full and it freezes, it can bust this cap. Let me show you this. This stainless steel water bottle, I did not empty this out or put it someplace to where it wouldn't freeze. It froze solid overnight. And the next day, the lid was completely destroyed. It broke all through here from the ice coming up, pressuring it, and busting it off. It was in pieces. The bottom of this water bottle was domed up. And brilliant me, I'm thinking it's like, oh yeah, I'll just tap it a couple times with a hammer. Well, you see what that looks like. And it also pressed in the neck of my water bottle in just a little bit. Still works fine, but even something as rugged as a steel water bottle, it can still be destroyed and ruined by freezing temperatures. So anything that's got a plastic lid and you're relying on this, the plastic lid, even if it's steel or something flexible, you know, something like that, and it's silicone, things like that can stretch, the plastic lid itself can actually be destroyed in those freezing temperatures. Now, last thing I'm going to talk about is preventing your water containers from freezing overnight. The most common way to do it is to put it in your sleeping bag with you, put it in your hammock with you under your top quilt, but you need to do it in an intelligent way. First of all, you have to absolutely make certain that the lid is a good, tight, complete seal. So you're going to turn it upside down, you're going to look at it, you're going to watch it for a while, because you don't want your insulation that could actually save your life to get wet. So you want to check that out first. And the other thing, you can very easily put warm or hot water in your water bottle before you do that. Now, with a stainless steel bottle, I would have no problem whatsoever putting boiling water in this and putting the lid on. And once I've done that, an old sock, wrap that around here. Now again, I would not put boiling water in an Nalgene bottle. I'd let it cool down a good little bit. Once it's in there, you give it a twist. And then you pull that sock down over it again. So now you essentially have a hot water bottle for the inside of your sleeping bag, you can put it down by your feet, keep them nice and toasty. If you aren't real confident, you feel it's too hot, you use the other sock, and it will create enough insulation around it to where you don't get burned, but it will still be nice and toasty. If you're in your hammock, you can put it up underneath your knees if you're a back sleeper and you have just a traditional hammock, or you can rest it on your belly, your chest, what have you. And if you have a toe box in your hammock, let's say you have an ASIM hammock, you have a bridge hammock, or you have one of the multitudes of hammocks out there to where it lays fairly flat, you could stick this in the toe box of your hammock as well. But throughout the course of the night, it's going to cool down and you're going to have drinkable water without burning your face off the next morning. And it's not going to be frozen. Depending on how many water containers that you want to do with that type of technique with, I mean, that's of course up to you. But that's just one option of being able to kill two birds with one stone. One of those is to keep it from freezing, the other of which is to add some heat and some warmth to your sleep system. Now the last tip I'm going to give you is for your drinking water. And there's a company called Redmond's Salt. They produce salt. It's the only salt that we use in our home, and they produce a product called Relight, R-E-L-Y-T-E. It's an electrolyte drink that has their salt in it, and it's just enough sodium in it that would slow down the freezing process of the water. You very easily could leave that exposed to temperatures down into probably 20 with no problem whatsoever, and it's not going to freeze solid. So as opposed to like regular water, 20 degrees, this is going to freeze solid. And but you only want it for your drinking water because it most of it's flavored. As far as I know, it's all flavored. They might have one that's not flavored, but it's not like drinking ocean water. I mean, you notice there's a small salty quality to it, but it's not at all unpleasant. But it is enough sodium to prevent your water from freezing. Other than that, if you wanted water, you wanted to try the sodium thing, and you would like to cook with it, so you don't want mango flavored water going into whatever it is you're cooking, your chili mac and cheese or something, you could use, again, I would recommend highly Redmond's salt. A quarter of a teaspoon, and they're not a quarter of a tablespoon, quarter of a teaspoon in the water should be enough sodium in there to not be unpleasant to drink, but also from keeping your water from freezing. Well folks, there you have it. Hopefully I've provided you with enough tips and tricks to help you to be able to sanitize your water during the winter months, and also to prevent your water from freezing. Well folks, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.